ever feel dwarfed by like a skyscraper? Imagine a creature so massive it makes a skyscraper look like, I don't know, a toothpick. That's the scale we're talking about today. The awe-inspiring time when life, well, first conquered land.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in, dinosaurs. But their reign, it was just one chapter in this epic saga. We're going way back, like way, way back, to understand how life first, gained a foothold on land.
And we're using the Urantia Books Paper 60 as our guide. So buckle up, because we're about to unearth a world, well, honestly, stranger than any fiction I've ever read.
Oh, absolutely.
Think harsh deserts, volcanoes like spewing molten rock, and creatures straight out of a prehistoric nightmare.
Yeah, it's true. It wasn't an easy transition, you
Right.
know. Picture this, picture this. You're a creature, you're used to the ocean, right? And suddenly you're on land.
Yeah.
The air is different, the gravity, it feels heavier. And finding food, it's a whole new challenge.
Talk about a rude awakening.
Yeah.
And the Urantia book, it paints a really vivid picture of this time. It describes these red sandstone formations, thousands of feet thick, stretching across entire continents.
Yeah.
It's hard to even wrap your head around, right?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating is that these sandstone formations are like giant history books.
Oh, okay.
Embedded within them are clues to this early life. Footprints captured in stone showing us how these creatures moved and how they interacted with their environment.
It's amazing what those traces can tell us. The Palisades of the Hudson River.
Yeah.
Those majestic cliffs, those were actually formed by volcanic eruptions during this period.
Yeah.
Imagine just molten rock spewing into the sky, reshaping the very landscape.
Yeah, and these weren't your, average, everyday lizards. This era gave rise to the ancestors of dinosaurs, reptiles unlike anything alive today. Imagine a world where these creatures, some as long as a bus, are just starting their evolutionary journey.
This is where things start to feel like a dinosaur movie, right? But before we get to the giants, we need to understand the world they inherited. A world much hotter, drier, and more challenging than I think any of us would expect. Okay, so picture this. You're walking through a forest, but instead of like towering oaks and maples, you've got ferns the size of small trees.
Wow.
And rustling in those ferns. It's not deer, it's not squirrels. It's creatures that would make a T-Rex look like a house cat, honestly.
Oh yeah, you're getting into the time period we call the late reptilian age, the Jurassic period, to be precise.
Okay.
This is when dinosaurs really hit their stride, evolving into some of the largest land animals this planet has ever seen.
So we're talking giants, like the ones they discovered in the Rocky Mountains.
Absolutely.
Some of these behemoths stretched over 75 feet long.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the ground shaking with every step?
It's mind-boggling to even try to think about. But here's the thing. These titans, they weren't exactly known for their, intelligence.
Really?
Yeah, the Urantia book, it points out that their brains, compared to their massive bodies, were incredibly small.
So we've got these enormous creatures, not exactly, winning any mental marathons, roaming the earth. What does that tell us about how they survived?
Well, the Urantia book suggests that this lack of adaptability might have actually contributed to their eventual, downfall. They were so successful, so dominant in their era, that they didn't need to be particularly clever. But as the environment changed, as it always does, they weren't equipped to cope.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even the mightiest can be brought low by a changing world. But hold on, while all of this is happening on land, what's going on in the oceans?
The oceans were a whole other story.
Oh.
As the continents drifted, sea levels rose. It created these vast, shallow seas. And in these warm, sunlit waters, life just exploded. Imagine, vibrant coral reefs, teeming with, colorful fish and strange, beautiful creatures like ammonites.
Ammonites, what are those?
These spiral-shelled creatures that kind of look like living fossils,
Oh.
thriving in abundance.
So it sounds like an underwater paradise.
It was.
But I have a feeling it wasn't all peaceful down there.
You're right about that. Remember how we talked about adaptation?
Yeah?
Well, some reptiles decided to take that to a whole new level.
Okay.
They didn't just adapt to land, they decided to move back into the water.
Really?
Yeah. We're talking about massive sea serpents, some stretching over 50 feet long, ruling the depths.
Oh, wow. Talk about a plot twist.
Yeah.
So it's not just dinosaurs ruling the land. We've got these colossal sea serpents adding to the drama. This era is full of surprises.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that evolution isn't always a straight line.
Okay.
Sometimes the best way to survive is to, go back to your roots, so to speak.
Okay, so we've got giant reptiles on land, massive serpents in the sea. But things are about to get even more interesting, right? Because lurking in the background of all of this is a new player on the scene. So those drifting continents, remember those? They've been drifting around and, well, they decide to crash into each other. Can you imagine that?
Oh, I can only imagine, yeah.
We're talking earthquakes that would make the ground ripple like water. Volcanoes erupting with, oh my gosh, unimaginable force. And those massive mountain ranges, like the Himalayas. Yeah, those were being born right before your eyes.
It's hard to honestly even grasp the sheer scale of it all. It's like, I don't know, taking a snow globe, shaking it up, and watching the landscape like rearrange itself. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Amidst all this chaos, a new form of life emerges. Something delicate, something beautiful that is going to change everything.
What is that?
Flowering plants?
Wow, it's like the planet decided to throw a coming out party in the middle of a geological mosh pit.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
What does it look like now? Paint me a picture.
So imagine a world, right, that was once dominated by just shades of green and brown, suddenly bursting into color. We're talking the ancestors of like magnolias, tulip trees.
Yeah.
Their blossoms painting the landscape with these vibrant hues. And this isn't just a cosmetic change.
Okay.
This is a game changer for life on Earth.
So I'm picturing it now. I'm picturing it, a world recovering from these massive upheavals. And suddenly, bam, flowers everywhere.
But how does this tie back into like the bigger picture, like the story of us?
So flowering plants, they mean a new source of food. It's a whole new ecosystem.
And where there's a new niche,
Yeah.
life evolves to fill it. This period, it also marks the dawn of, well, the birds.
Oh, wow.
Not those, awkward feathered dinosaurs you might be picturing, but true birds, small, agile creatures.
Really?
Taking to the skies for the first time. Can you imagine, like, looking up and seeing that?
That's incredible. So from giant reptiles and massive sea creatures to delicate birds and colorful flowers, it's kind of mind-blowing how much changed in what, geologically speaking, is a relatively short time.
And that's what's so incredible about this era,
Yeah.
It reminds us that change is the only constant.
It really is.
And those who can adapt, like those first birds and flowering plants, they're the ones who thrive.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what will future paleontologists, what will they discover about our own era?
That's a good question.
What will be the defining, features, the success stories, the cautionary tales they uncover about us?
Wow. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? I think we often get caught up in the day-to-day, right? But this deep dive, it reminds us that, we're part of something much, much bigger, a story that's been unfolding for millions of years.
We are products of this incredible journey, still evolving, right alongside the planet.
Yeah.
And just like those early pioneers of land, our ability to adapt and thrive, well, that will determine the next chapter of Earth's story.